Sports, Alex Eala makes history in the U.S. as the first Filipino tennis player to compete at the Indian Wells Open. TJ Manotok has that story.
Fresh off a strong start to the season, including impressive performances in New Zealand, Australia, and the Middle East, Eala says the first 2 months of the year have given her plenty of momentum.
For the first time in the history of the Indian Wells tournament, a Filipino player has entered the main draw. That moment arrived when Alex Eala stepped onto the stage ranked number 31 in the world. Even before she played her first match, history had already been made. By earning a first-round bye as a seeded player, Eala officially became the first Filipino athlete to compete in the main draw of what many fans call the fifth Grand Slam. It was a milestone not only for her career but also for Philippine tennis. The significance of this achievement goes far beyond one tournament appearance. For decades, no Filipino player had managed to break into the Indian Wells main draw. Then Eala arrived, carrying both momentum and the confidence that comes with a top-tier world ranking. Simply stepping into the draw already changed the narrative of what Filipino tennis players can achieve on the global stage. Now the big question is how far she can go in this year's tournament. With the first round already behind her due to the bye, the opportunity is wide open. Could she push all the way to the quarterfinals? Maybe even reach the semifinals, or go further and shock the tennis world? Fans and analysts are already beginning to debate her chances. Before predictions get too wild, it's important to put the moment into proper context. In sports coverage, the word historic is often used so frequently that it starts to lose its meaning. But in this case, the label truly fits. Alex Eala's presence in the Indian Wells main draw represents a genuine breakthrough, marking a new chapter for Filipino tennis and proving that players from the Philippines can compete on one of the biggest stages in the sport.
I think I have a lot of positives to take away. Of course, the atmosphere in each tournament has been amazing, and it's been a different start this year than any other year I've ever had. So, yeah, I'm very happy with it.
The 20-year-old Filipina continues to grow both on and off the court since her breakout performance at last year's Miami Open when she took down 3 former Grand Slam champions and made it to the semifinals.
Not just on the court, but as a person in general, I've matured a lot. I think those were I'm still in my formative years, only being 20, but in terms of on-court as well, I've gained a lot of experience and at a much higher level than I used to compete. So I like to say I'm a better version of myself now.
The Indian Wells tournament has been held since 1976, bringing nearly 5 decades of world-class tennis to the California desert. Over the years, it has become one of the most prestigious events on both the WTA and ATP tours. For 50 years, the tournament has featured the best players in the world, representing multiple generations of tennis greatness. Legends of the sport have lifted the trophy at Indian Wells, including players like Steffi Graf, Monica Seles, Serena Williams, Roger Federer, Rafael Nadal, and Novak Djokovic. Because of the level of competition and the prestige surrounding the event, Indian Wells is often referred to as the fifth Grand Slam. Winning there places a player among the elite names in tennis history. Despite its long and celebrated history, one nation had never been represented in the tournament's main draw, the Philippines. For half a century, Filipino players had not reached that stage of the competition. That is what makes the current moment so significant. For the first time in those 50 years, a Filipino athlete has broken through and entered the main draw, marking a historic milestone for tennis in the Philippines.
Eala is also feeling the support from Filipino fans around the world, including many who came to Indian Wells hoping to watch her compete. A lot of fans already came out just to see her practice.
I've been coming to this tournament for 10 years.
Oh wow, so now you have someone to cheer for.
Finally have a Filipino here.
You could see she has the skills.
She has skills, of course. That's natural for him.
We come here every year.
Okay.
Every year. Now we came here because she's also here.
Of course.
Now we're in this. Yeah.
So
we're in this together.
Alright, so you're gonna watch on Friday as well?
Win or lose.
Alex Eala didn't just make history by entering the Indian Wells main draw. She did so as a seeded player. Ranked number 31 in the BNP Paribas Open draw, She received a first-round bye and was placed in a section of the bracket that reflects her standing among the top players in the world. This means she didn't have to fight through the grueling qualifying rounds. The tournament recognized her ranking and treated her as one of the elite competitors. That distinction is significant because it highlights her position in the global tennis rankings at this very moment. A first-round bye at Indian Wells isn't given as a favor or publicity stunt. It's earned through consistent performance across the season, with ranking points accumulated in professional tournaments around the world. These points are based strictly on wins and losses against other professional players. Nothing else matters. Fan support, social media buzz, or endorsement deals have no influence on the draw. Eala has demonstrated her skill and consistency on the court, amassing enough victories to reach number 31 in the world. That ranking alone qualifies her for special treatment in the draw, a position that many professional players spend years trying to achieve. In other words, Alex Eala isn't just participating in Indian Wells, she's competing among the top tier of global tennis, and the tournament structure itself acknowledges that accomplishment.
Eala will face the winner of the match between Diana Yastremska or Zhang Shuai in the second round. A win there could potentially set up another showdown with world number 3 Coco Gauff, whom she faced earlier this year. But Eala says her focus remains on her own game.
Now, let's look at what Alex Eala's path at Indian Wells actually looks like, because the draw is far from easy. She will start in the second round, facing the winner of the first-round match between Zhang Shuai and Diana Yastremska. While some might frame her second-round entry as comfortable because she received a first-round bye, the reality is that both potential opponents present significant challenges. Zhang Shuai, ranked number 62 in the world, is no stranger to big-stage competition. She has 3 WTA singles titles, a Grand Slam doubles championship, and has reached the singles quarterfinals at both the Australian Open and Wimbledon. A decade-long professional career has given her the experience and court savvy that rankings alone cannot fully capture. She knows how to perform under pressure on hard courts and will enter the second round already match-sharp, having played and won her first-round match. This is an advantage that Eala, coming off a bye, will need to overcome. Diana Yastremska presents a different kind of test. Ranked number 52 and having reached the Australian Open semi-finals as recently as 2024, Yastremska is a powerful striker capable of taking control of matches when she is in form. Her ability to compete against top-ranked players and produce results on major hard courts makes her a dangerous opponent for Eala. Against either of these players, Eala will need to be at her absolute best from the very first point. If Eala advances, a potential rematch with Coco Gauff could be on the horizon. Gauff, the tournament's 4th seed, also received a first-round bye and will face either Bianca Andreescu or a qualifier in her opening match. Should the bracket progress as expected, Eala and Gauff could meet in the third round or later. Their previous encounter in Dubai ended decisively in Gauff's favor, 6-0, 6-2. Eala was blanked in the first set and only managed to take 2 games in the second, facing a Gauff performing at a very high level. However, Eala's reaction to that loss shows her maturity and mindset. She has publicly stated that she always learns something when playing against Gauff, viewing her as a role model and an incredible competitor. She is eager for a rematch, applying the lessons she has learned from their previous match. That perspective highlights a key part of her approach. She treats a 6-0, 6-2 defeat not as a setback or trauma, but as valuable information to improve and grow. This mental resilience could be just as crucial as her skill on court as she navigates a challenging draw at Indian Wells.
Alex. Go back. Go back. Alex, sorry, I don't. I can't.
Alex, it's hard.
Good luck, Alex.
I got it.
Alex Eala's career so far has been defined by taking difficult lessons and turning them into competitive growth. She left the Philippines as a teenager to train at the Rafa Nadal Academy in Spain, a high-standard, demanding environment designed to prepare players for the rigors of professional tennis. She worked her way up through qualifying rounds, ITF circuit matches, and early professional losses that went largely unnoticed, accumulating ranking points one by one to reach the position she holds today. Her breakthrough moment came at the Miami Open last year, when she defeated Iga Swiatek, the then world number 2, in one of the biggest upsets in recent WTA history for a player at her ranking. Eala went on to reach the semi-finals, announcing to the global tennis audience that her rise was genuine. Since then, she has continued her upward trajectory in 2026, with appearances at the Australian Open and a strong showing in Dubai, where she reached the quarterfinals with wins over Jasmine Paolini, Sarah Sorribes-Tormo, and Hailey Baptiste before falling to Coco Gauff. Those victories over ranked opponents, including a top 10 player, cemented her credibility on the tour. Now at Indian Wells, Eala is making history once again. She is the first Filipino to compete in the main draw and enters as the 31st seed, a reflection of her ranking and consistency. What makes this moment even more remarkable is the level of fan support she has inspired. Filipino fans traveled from across California to watch her practice, waving flags and cheering her name. Some have been attending Indian Wells for years and said this is the first time they had someone to root for from the Philippines. Others attend annually but made a special trip just for Eala. This Eala effect shows how a single player can ignite passion in a community, turning casual viewers into committed supporters, and creating a tangible impact beyond social media metrics or marketing campaigns. The tournament itself has taken notice. Indian Wells called her one of tennis' most delightfully unkept secrets, and highlighted the excitement surrounding her arrival as proof of the growing influence she has on the sport. The WTA is seeing the potential for her to help grow tennis in Southeast Asia, a region that has historically struggled to connect fans with local heroes. With 4 Southeast Asian players in the main draw this year, including Eala, the region is beginning to make its mark, and she is the clearest example of why that development matters. Eala is not just a symbolic presence, she competes at the highest level. She beats top 10 players, reaches quarterfinals at WTA 1000 events, and inspires young athletes in her region to believe that they can achieve the same. Her Nike visit before Indian Wells further underscores this. The brand highlighted her Filipino identity through her gear, including a Sampaguita-inspired shirt, and recreated her celebration from the Miami Open upset over Swiatek. Such recognition is reserved for athletes deemed long-term pillars, signaling the level of belief in her potential. Even Manny Pacquiao, the most famous Filipino athlete in history, acknowledged her impact, telling her to keep working while she humbly emphasized that she still has a long journey ahead. At just 20 years old, Alex Eala has already made history. She is the first Filipino in the Indian Wells main draw, seeded 31st, with a potential rematch against the 4th seed in her section. Fans traveled to see her practice, waving flags and chanting her name. The draw may be open, but the history has already been made. After 50 years of Indian Wells and countless champions, no Filipino player had ever reached the main draw, until Alex Eala stepped in with a first-round bye, a top 31 seed, and a fan base ready to witness her journey. What happens from here is still unknown, but one thing is clear: this story is just beginning. Hit like, subscribe, and follow along, because the next chapters of Alex Eala's journey at Indian Wells are about to unfold.